Hey everyone, it's me again, welcome back to the channel. Now this week I'm diving into the world of video games, but don't worry, if you're a fan of my previous content, I'm still heavily tethered to the wizarding world. And that's because in this video, I'm going to be looking at the Harry Potter franchise and its history and potential future in the gaming industry. But before we jump in, Accio titles. Now, with the impending release of the new Harry Potter RPG that has all but officially been confirmed, I thought it would be a good idea to look at Harry Potter's place in the gaming industry, and why we don't see a massive catalogue of Harry Potter games out there. Now, the Harry Potter franchise isn't exactly short of games. Of course, all the movies had a tie-in game, as well as that there's all of the LEGO games that are always released with big franchises, and the Quidditch World Cup game, which is probably my personal favourite of all of them. As well as this, there's a bunch of other gimmicky games such as the Kinect games and the PlayStation exclusive ones, and on top of that, a bunch of games I've not even heard of. Tying this all together, of course, there's the mobile games, and we've got Wizards Unite, as well as Hogwarts Mystery. Now I'm going to go into detail on a few of these and explain why they don't fully capture the Harry Potter universe. As well as that, I'm going to be looking at how they can do that in the future, and what I think the RPG needs to bring to the franchise. Now the first thing I'm going to talk about are the movie tie-in games. Now these games are really fun. I enjoyed playing a lot of them as I was growing up, especially Chamber of Secrets and Prisoner of Azkaban, as I was sort of in the target demographic at the time when they were released. Now although these games are a lot of fun, they don't really capture what I think would make a good Harry Potter game. The magic is a little bit limited, especially in those earlier titles. It's mostly puzzle-based games as opposed to sort of magic, and I guess that does make sense. The movies do involve a lot of puzzle solving, especially from Harry, Ron and Hermione. In the later games in the series, they really improved on the magic engine. However, I just feel like because they're based on the movies, they don't offer a great amount to the canon of Harry Potter. So next up, I'm going to talk about the LEGO games. And the LEGO games are always fun titles, great for family play and for kids as well. They're not very challenging, and they're not exactly AAA games, which I think is why they don't really capture the Harry Potter lore. The thing about them is that they are very similar to the tie-in movie games. They follow the plot of the movies and the books, and don't really add a great deal more. Once again, they're full of fun mechanics and a lot of puzzles to solve, which is great for younger minds, but it's not exactly challenging for the people who grew up with Harry Potter and are now fully grown adults who enjoy a much more difficult gaming experience. Now time for my favourite game in the Harry Potter canon, and that's Harry Potter Quidditch World Cup. Now I really enjoyed playing this game when it came out on the original Xbox. Unfortunately it's not backwards compatible, so you can't play on any newer iterations. However, if you have a PC version, you still can enjoy the game. Now the Harry Potter Quidditch game plays a little bit like any sports simulation game. You play as a Quidditch team playing against another one, and you have to try and win the game. There's not a huge amount of lore explored, but what is interesting is I think it actually does go into a bit more than the tie-in games do. And that's because it sort of focuses on a lot of the other national teams in the Quidditch world. It fills them in with entire rosters, and it has stadiums and other kind of stuff that goes along with that. Harry Potter and the Quidditch World Cup is a really fantastic game. It's really fun to play, it has a lot of striking visuals, but that's what makes it good. It's a good peripheral game that really adds to the whole universe of Harry Potter. The rest of the Harry Potter catalogue is filled with a bunch of gimmicky games that were made for whatever generation of console came out at the time, including Harry Potter Kinect, for example. There's also a weird game called Harry Potter Find Scabbers, which I couldn't actually find a huge amount of information on. If you know anything about that game, please let me know, because I'm really fascinated by it. And then on top of that, of course, there's the two mobile games. And a lot of you out there will already know the problems with those. Now, Harry Potter Wizards Unite, the thing about that is it followed off the back of Pokemon Go and just basically recreated the same formula. And now that's a good thing. Pokemon Go is a really popular game, and Wizards Unite, by the looks of it, is quite popular too. However, it doesn't live up to Pokemon Go. That's the major thing about it. In following the footsteps of this global phenomenon, it couldn't capture that again. It's a good game though, and it does add some stuff to Harry Potter. The thing is though, is Hogwarts Mystery. And the problem with this game, as we all know, is the microtransactions. The story itself is quite decent. There aren't a huge amount of stakes to it because it happens just before Voldemort comes back. and because of that it's limited in terms of a sort of big bad. However, the major problem, as I said, is those microtransactions, which makes the game almost impossible to play all in one sitting. If you don't want to pay money for it, you have to wait hours until you can actually do an action if you mess it up the first time. Now you might be thinking, that's quite a decent catalogue of games, and to be honest, it's not bad, especially compared to other movie franchises. Most of the time they just have those movie tie-in games and that's it, that's the end of it. However, there is one comparison that I think needs to be made, and that's between Harry Potter and the Star Wars canon. The thing is, I don't expect Harry Potter to rival Star Wars in terms of amount of releases. Star Wars actually has one of the most amount of games connected to it of any other franchise out there, including AAA game franchises themselves. However, what it can learn from it is the lore building. One of my favourite games in the Star Wars universe is Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 1 and 2. They tell a fascinating story that's connected enough to the main Star Wars canon, but also tells its own story, has its own high stakes, and really makes you connect with the characters. Now I really think Harry Potter could do something like this, and judging by the rumours of the new RPG, maybe they are. We don't know exactly which time period they're going to be exploring. There were initial rumours that it would be way before Fantastic Beasts, and now newer rumours that it's going to take place after the Harry Potter saga itself. Whatever it does, I think it could really learn from Star Wars in building its canon in the way that they do. Lucasfilm are the experts at it, but I really think that Harry Potter could build and become a big sort of Goliath of the gaming industry as well. Now all of that brings me to the crux of this video, and that's why they haven't made more games up until this point. What's weird about the Harry Potter universe is that actually they haven't failed in making a lot of games. A lot of other games go through the production hell of sort of not being able to realise a title that they set out. But however, there aren't many examples of that in the wizarding world. Almost every game that has been put into production has been finished and made and released as a game. So why haven't they made more of them? Now I think there are two major reasons why. Number one is capturing magic in a game. The thing about magic is that it's sort of endless. You can pretty much do anything with it, as the movies and the books sort of show. However, in capturing that in a game format, it's near impossible. Now, as I mentioned earlier in the video, some of the later games that were tie-ins to the movies did do better at capturing the magic and the magnitude of the things that you can do with magic. However, no game has really fully captured this essence. Weirdly, what came close was the LEGO Harry Potter games, giving you this sort of selection wheel of spells that you could cast, but it still didn't feel that natural. I think the one thing they could do to try and capture a bit more of the magic is what Mass Effect do really well, and give you a sort of power wheel that you can bring up, choose the spell that you cast or one of your team members casts, and then that has its effect in the game. Now the other aspect as to why I think they haven't made more Harry Potter games is the stakes. Now what I mean by that is finding a time period that hasn't already been covered. You've already got the Grindelwald years and then you've got the Voldemort years. What else is there to explain if the two biggest dark wizards have already had their own storylines? Outside of that, obviously you can go a lot earlier and a lot further into the future. But then you're going to run into the issues of not being able to tie into what we already know. If you just tell a story in the times of Merlin, for example, it doesn't feel connected to the Harry Potter universe. It's just about magic, and then it might as well be a King Arthur game. Now obviously this problem isn't a be-all and end-all. There are definitely ways around it, and I think that the Harry Potter RPG has a lot of potential to be able to do that. What it could do quite easily is explore a time period not long after Harry Potter or not long before Fantastic Beasts, which is a good period of time to explore in terms of gaming. One example could be the house founders and how they founded the school and that kind of stuff, or just something completely different as long as it's within that sort of parameters. However, the only thing to bear in mind is don't do what the Cursed Child did. It meddled around far too much in the Harry Potter timeline, and that's what made a lot of people not consider it canon anymore. Don't make that mistake. So I think there is a lot of potential in the Harry Potter canon to really establish themselves in the gaming community. I'm a little bit surprised that they haven't already, but I think that the future is bright for this franchise. I mean, can it be any brighter than the past it's already had? I mean, it's huge. huge. So there we have it. That's my thoughts on Harry Potter in the gaming industry. What did you think of this video? Do you like this sort of theory kind of concept? If so, please comment down below and let me know what you liked about it and what other suggestions you have for future videos. Also, don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and please consider donating to my Ko-fi page. The link is in the description below. Now with all that out of the way, there's one thing left. Nox.